weekends, gaming with my time spent, trying to get ahead, trying to get the gold. Realize all the good things in life come to you for free when you're letting them go. I used to care about all of these things that people say.
Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Sam from Rokoko, and today we are going to be trying to create a music video in just 12 hours. So it's about 8:30 in the morning, and the idea was just what can we do with the new Unreal Metahumans that were just released, is this beautiful Metahuman on screen, and then paired with the Rokoko motion capture, right? So we're going to be using a Rokoko Smart Suit Pro for the body mocap, our smart gloves for the hand and finger mocap, and then our facial motion capture solution, which uses an iPhone app, and we're gonna put them all together and hopefully be able to create something cool. Hopefully, at the beginning of this video there was a little snippet and everything went well. Let's jump right into it. Here we are in Metahuman Creator, and I've already created the character last night, which I don't think is cheating because I didn't really do much. I'm using Sukja as a base character who I really love. I love all the older skin textures and characters, just because it gives it so much life. The detail on the skin is really fantastic, and so that just helps it look really, I just think it looks cooler. So we're going to be using an older character, and I also thought it would be funny to have this grandma character like singing a vibey track or whatever. I did also already grab the track. I thought it would be easy just to make a music video if I could find something that was easy to memorize. We use Soundstripe for all of our music needs and licensing and everything, which I love Soundstripe. They're great, and I found this awesome song on here. Let's see if I think it'll play. Hopefully it's not too loud. Here we go. So very vibey. And I've just been trying to memorize the lyrics and singing it over and over, which is why my voice is starting to get hoarse already. But I also, we'll see how I do with the lyrics. I've printed them out as well, so I can just refer to them. So this is the song. And if we jump back into Metahuman Creator, we can kind of take a peek at the process here. We can edit her, and we get this neat, idle animation that they throw on. And basically I started with this preset of her, and then I changed her hair a little bit. They have all these hair options, and I changed her eyes a little bit. I changed the skin maybe a tiny bit, the texture that was on there. And then most importantly, I changed her outfit, just because she comes kind of with a standard like pink colored sweater, which no hate to the pink sweater. I love a good pink sweater, but for like a vibey music video, I thought it'd be cooler to have like black and white. So I changed the colors to give her this white sweater with a black accent, and then these cool jogger cargo pants and some loafers. So she's looking cool. The caveat to this workflow that we're going to be using is that it really only works with the shirt and the sweater right now. The hoodie uses cloth physics, which is really cool. The problem with it right now is just that our workflow that we're going to be using requires us to record our animation from our mocap into Unreal, and that kind of messes up with clothing that uses physics, because we're trying to like copy animation that was recorded onto the hoodie, so it gets messy. Caveat being, for this workflow that I'm doing, use the sweater or use the button-down shirt. In the future, we'll have ironed out the cloth physics problem. And the other thing that we're going to be doing, and just kind of to go through it a little bit, is the workflow basically works that we record our motion capture to Rokoko Studio. We have pre-recorded motion capture that we're going to go do, and then we're going to take that recorded motion capture and we're going to stream that to our character in Unreal, record the stream to our character basically, and then we'll be able to render out that animation on our character in Unreal. So eventually we'll have a workflow that allows us to just straight up retarget the motion capture. I know that's a confusing distinction between streaming pre-recorded motion capture to our character and recording that versus retargeting motion capture to our character. But point being, basically, don't use the hoodie is what I'm trying to say for this workflow. We'll get there eventually, and we'll keep releasing tutorials as we, refine our workflow. But for now, don't use the hoodie. Okay. Don't know what those flashes are. I guess Metahuman is, it works off of web, which is kind of cool. But it can be a little laggy, and I think it has a lot of GPU draw. Doesn't like that, and I'm running OBS, so flashes on the Metahuman. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. So now I'm gonna go into the other room. I need to clear it out a bit, and I'm just going to, we're gonna record our motion capture. We're also gonna build our helmet rig, because while we sell a chest-mounted rig to hold an iPhone. Where's my iPhone? I gotta find it. It's over there. Oh, there it is. To hold the iPhone, we have a chest-mounted rig that we sell. We're gonna be making a helmet-mounted rig, just using a bike helmet, because we're gonna be moving around a lot. And the chest-mounted rig is great if you're standing still or you're doing slight motions, but when we're dancing around, we want to have it be helmet-mounted. So we're gonna go through that as well. So let's jump over to GoPro Sam in the other room. So I'm just going to be using this little room, which I cleared out. There's enough space to kind of move around, but obviously it's not a giant studio, but this is plenty of space for us to work with. And I'm just going to be running everything off of my Surface Pro 7, which is a tablet, essentially. It's a tablet computer, but it's more than enough to run all the Rokoko software and everything that we need to run for the motion capture. And then I've also got an offline router just in the same room. This is just a $100 router, I think I got off of Amazon, and I'm doing this for two reasons. One, it will ensure that nobody else is on my Wi-Fi network, like streaming 4K YouTube videos and eating up the bandwidth. And the other thing is that I know that this router is in the room. So it's as close as it can possibly be to both my computer and my suit. So I get good results when they're not in the room too, but when we're trying to record something really quality, we recommend you use an offline router, and we recommend that your router is in the same room with your suit, just because you're trying to get the best quality Wi-Fi signal, right? The closer you are to the router, the better your signal. Doesn't have to go through walls. Yeah, not strictly necessary, but if you're trying to get the absolute best quality, it's worth it to just invest in a cheap router, just so you have more control over the situation. So now let's make a very jury-rigged helmet mount. So to make the helmet mount, what you're going to need is some zip ties and then a selfie stick and a bicycle helmet. So right here, I'm just zip tying 2 zip ties together to make longer ones. And for the selfie stick, I'm using a GoPro selfie stick that I have. You could use any selfie stick that is solid. You want it to be kind of not flexible. I like this one because it can bend and articulate, but anything will kind of work. And as you can see here, the idea is essentially just to zip tie the selfie stick to the top of your bicycle helmet through the holes on the top. And it is important, I think, that you use zip ties. Use zip ties. Don't try to use rope. Zip ties allow you to really, as you can see, clamp, really, really make it really tight. And that's something that you're going to be able to do with a zip tie. You're not going to be able to do with like a shoelace or something else that's equally jury-rigged. But as you can see, I essentially just zip tie it to the top as hard as I possibly can. And then you have a very solid, stable, as you can see, there's no wiggle. It is clamped to the top of that helmet, and it's not going to go anywhere. And then I of course, just cut off the extras, and you can keep moving. And now we need to add a counterweight to the back of the helmet, because the iPhone is kind of heavy when it's out dangling out in front. So for this, I'm essentially using an old hard drive that I have. You could use anything. I just found the weight to be very similar to the iPhone with the hard drive. So same kind of treatment. I'm just using zip ties, and obviously this is incredibly jury-rigged, but it also works, and so that's all we really care about. So, pretty janky, obviously, but also gonna get the job done. And the nice thing about this GoPro arm is that it can articulate. So if I needed to, if I needed to bring it down or something, I could just unscrew this and then, I can articulate it. Pretty much any selfie stick that's solid will work. And again, it's counterweighted, so it swings pretty easily. But obviously this is not ideal. But the rigs are just so expensive for iPhones. They're like $1,200, the ones that we found. And the chest rig, while great, is just I'm gonna be moving around too much for it. So this is the best option. And put questions you have in the comments down below. But this will get the job done, which is really what we're looking for. And now we just need to record the mocap. So for this, what my strategy was basically was that, because I didn't know the song super well, I was going to do just a bunch of different takes and then use the best parts where I wasn't messing up and where we got really good mocap results, and then just cut it all together, And so the method that I used was essentially to give it my best to do, a couple full takes. And then I would go in and do some more still takes where I was, just trying to get really expressive facial motion capture that I could cut in as insert shots and like close-ups on the mouth and on the eyes. And on the hands. I did a whole take where it was just me doing hand dancing because I just wanted things to be able to cut to, because I knew that, I might not get perfect mocap takes, and then I also might forget some lyrics, and so I just wanted to have a bunch of different mocap recordings that I can print out and export out in Unreal, and then I can cut between them when I'm making the music video. I think the advice for when you're trying to do facial motion capture using, the AR kit, which is what our facial motion capture is run off, which has 52 blend shapes. Be expressive. The whole thing is that you're trying to make this character feel alive. And honestly, the way that you do that, in my experience, is that you enunciate your words, so you get the best mouth movements, but then also you add in blinks and you add in all this other stuff that really makes it feel more alive. Whew, okay, just spent about an hour recording a bunch of different takes. Tried to keep them as short as I could, but I did about 20 takes in an hour ish, because I kept going back to read the lyrics and everything. But next step is to bring them over back to the main PC, do a little cleanup in Rokoko Studio, which should be quick, and then start putting them on our granny character. Okay, so finished recording, grabbed the file from the Surface Pro 7, and I just threw it over into the main computer where we are going to kind of do a little cleanup and look at some of the motion capture. So you can transfer files between computers super easily. You just go to the mocap that's recorded, go to open folder, and then you just go and you grab that whole folder and you put it on a drive or whatever, and you bring it over to your other computer, and then you can just load it into your Rokoko Studio folder on this computer, and everything will just come up and boot up. So yeah, as I said, I recorded about 20-ish takes. I went through and renamed them, the best ones that I thought had the most potential. And then the other thing that I did was just some very quick cleanup. I don't think that we can't say it enough that the suit is really intended to be used with the cleanup filters in Rokoko Studio. They're quick and they're easy to use, and it really makes a world of difference. The suit is intended to be used with these filters. They help get you the best possible mocap, and it helps the mocap be interpreted in a way that is more accurate to what you actually did. I do get good raw mocap takes, and if I'm making a video where I don't need to you know, it's quick and I don't maybe need it to show the feed or something, and I don't care about a little drift here and there, that's great. But if you're trying to get the best results from your mocap, use these cleanup filters. We'll have a link to a bigger tutorial on what they all do. You know, in general, as you can see here, I added a foot IK and a knee pop smoothing filter, which I tend to do on most of my recordings. Just they're quick and easy. The foot IK one ensures that anytime a foot is on the ground, it doesn't drift. It will just stay locked on the ground. And then the knee popping just helps smooth the knee popping. That's what the knee pop smoothing filter does, surprisingly. So yeah, my voice is getting hoarse from all the singing. But yeah, so here, you know, here's one of the recordings, and it looks good. This is just a full dancing take that I did. And maybe I can put up the, you know, the actual footage from the from the GoPro. But yeah, so this all looks good. So you know, again, go through, you add some filters to clean it up and make sure it looks the best it possibly can. And now what we're going to do is we're going to create our Unreal base project. So this is going to be a project where we take our Metahuman, bring them into Unreal, and then set the whole project up to record mocap, to receive mocap from Rokoko Studio onto the character. And then we're going to copy that base master project every time we do a shot, so we don't have to set up the Metahuman every time. We want to just do this once, and then we'll be able to iterate really quickly and export out all of these takes, you know, in this afternoon, and it should move quickly after we set up this project. So let's create a new Unreal project, and then I'll show you how to set up, you know, the Metahuman to receive mocap. So I'm just basically making a completely blank, you know, I use the film template or whatever, and just a blank project. I'm gonna name this base music video blank, because this is gonna be our base project. So I'll create the project. Needs to think. Okay, here we are in our blank project, and I'm gonna do a couple things just to set this up. So the first thing I'm going to do is I need to enable our Rokoko plugin. So I'll go to Edit Plugins, type in Rokoko, and enable it. Yes, I'm not going to restart it, although we will need to restart it, because first I'm going to go into Quixel, and I've already downloaded our character, Sukja, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering her name. She looks so awesome. But the way I set up Quixel, I need to install the plugin that will allow us to send this Metahuman to Unreal every time I create a new project. So if you go into Unreal, you can see that there's no Mega Scans button up here, and so that's how you know that the plugin has not been installed on this project. So the way to do that is you just go to Edit, Export Settings. You go find the main content folder, you know, the main project folder of your Unreal project. Create a new folder called Plugins, and then go in there, select that, and then hit Install Plugin. So let me go and open that project back up. Okay, here we are. So now you can see that I have this Mega Scans button up here. So I know the plugin is installed. So now if I go to Quixel, I can just hit export. And if we jump back into Unreal, whoa, it's thinking. It's ready to, it's importing in our Metahuman. So it did a little thinking, and now it's in, and as you can see, we get all these warnings. So we just need to hit enable missing on all of these, and it's going to ask us to restart it again. So that's 2 restarts for those of you who are counting. 3 if you don't install the plugin, and you need to do that, which I do sometimes too. But hopefully, you just need to restart it twice. Okay, so we're up and running. Metahuman is in. we're ready to go. Rokoko plugin is enabled. So let's go check out the Metahuman. As you can see, you get these two folders in the Metahumans when you import one. One contains her specific blueprints, and so here's her blueprint. We double click it. We can force compile it. There we go. And so right off the bat, if we throw her in the scene, and then click the selector, hit F, and so there we go. She's in the scene, looking good. So she obviously, man, they look so awesome. Still can't get over how much detail there is. First thing we're gonna do is, you can see if I zoom out, we get a change, and I'm gonna lower down my camera speed here, but we get a change in terms of the level of detail, right? So we want to force the highest level of detail. So in our blueprint, which I opened up, if you go to LOD sync, you can see this forced LOD is at -1. That's automatically switching based on where the camera is. If it's closer, it's higher level of detail. We just want to select the highest level of detail and just always have her at that. So I hit 0, enter 0 into forced LOD, compile, and save. I'm not going to close this right now because we're going to be doing more work. So now what we need to do is we need to set up her blueprints, or the constituent parts of their blueprints, to receive motion capture. Part of that involves just adding our standard node list that we use for streaming mocap in to a character blueprint in Unreal. And then the other part that we need to do is we need to repose her into a T pose. You can see that she's in an A pose right now, and we need her arms to be in a T pose. So we're going to go through both of those things right now. And when I mentioned constituent parts, if you select her and then you select maybe the face, you can see that she's broken up into the body and the face. If you were to use the hoodie, she would have another part, which is the hoodie, that we would need to do separately, or I think the button-down shirt. You need to do this process for the button-down shirt as well. If you're using the sweater, you just need to affect the blueprints for the body and the face. So let's start with the body. So I'm going to go into Metahumans folder, common, and then female, medium, which refers to her height, I think. Yeah, normal weight is her weight, because you can change all this in Metahuman Creator, and then body. And as you can see, we're going to have a bunch of blueprints here. So if I go and double click on her body blueprint, here we go, here it is, and it opens up in the event graph, just, by default. I'm going to change this to make sure I'm not blocking anything. So we can double click the anim graph, which is where the animation blueprint lives, and this is what comes with her in her body blueprint. We're going to ignore all this. I'm not going to delete them. You can, but I just prefer not to be as not destructive as I can be. But now we're just going to add our standard nodes for the Rokoko mocap live streaming. So I'm going to start with a right click and start with a local to component node. Then if I drag this out and I type in smart, you can also type in body pose, but you're looking for the Rokoko body pose node, and you'll only be able to find this if you enable the Rokoko plugin. Remember that we did at the beginning. And then we need to wire this guy into the output pose, and we need a component to local node to do that, but it'll be created automatically, so I just drag it in. Once we've done this, we need to change the Rokoko actor name to match what we have in Rokoko Studio. So I'll go to Rokoko Studio, and you can see that, the actor profile that I used was just Sam, so that's what we need to add here, just Sam, right? And then the other thing we need to do is we need to add a bone map override. So right now this is not the correct one. I'm going to go and find a bone map override that I've already prepared, and I'll have this in the download link in the description below, that you can download this. I'll probably have this full project in the description that you can download it. But essentially you're going to take that bone map asset, go to your project folder for your project, go to content, and if you paste that in, so it's called Metahuman bone list, now in our project, we have this Seneca bone list is what it's called, which is another metahuman, but it's Seneca bone list is what we want, which we just added. And now when we go to bone map override here on the Rokoko body pose, Seneca bone list. So add that in, hit compile, hit save. So that's part of what we need to do. The other thing we need to do is we need to convert this to a T-pose. So if I go to character, bones, all hierarchy, you can see that we have this A pose, right? And we need to make this into a T pose anytime we're working with Rokoko mocap, because that's the base pose of our mocap. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to go to the skeleton, and we're basically just going to rotate. We're going to zero out the rotations for these arms here, and then we're going to repose them into a T-pose. So let's do this together. I'll go through this right now with you. So local rotation, basically I'm going to start with the left arm. Go to the clavicle is the first thing, and we need to zero this out. And then, as you can see, it's not quite pointed up and down. So we need to I'm going to change my snapping to 5 degrees. We're going to rotate over 15. Actually, we're going to rotate over 10 degrees, so it's more up and down. And then we're going to bring this down 90 degrees. And then I'm going to move to the upper arm left, zero this out, boop, boop, boop. Lower arm, zero it out, just hitting 0, tab, tab. Hand, zero it out. And actually what I'm going to do now, and you can see that this hand is not the right way, right? We're going to change this mesh, this preview mesh, to female, medium, normal body. So this one will be up and it switched back. So do this before you start. But we want the hands. We want to be able to see the hand mesh when we're doing this. So I'm going to redo that really quickly. 0, 0, 0. Oh, and if nothing is happening, like just there, you need to disable this post-process blueprint. So 0, 0, 0. There we go. Rotate it over 10 degrees. Actually, no, I'm going to do 15 degrees. Then rotate it down 90 degrees. And keep zeroing these guys out. 0, 0, 0. The hand. 0, 0, 0. As you can see, it's not pointed the right way, so we're going to rotate this 90 degrees. There we go. And now what we need to do is we need to go through, and I'm going to zero out all of these finger bones. If somebody knows how to do this en masse for all of these bones, what I'd like to do is just select all these finger bones and zero out all their rotations. I haven't been able to figure that out yet. It's probably something simple. If you haven't caught on yet, I'm still kind of a noob when it comes to Unreal. So always more to learn. Put the rotations in the comments below. Rotation trick, if you know it, how to do all this at once. Otherwise, I'm basically just selecting each finger, going through, zeroing out this rotation, boop, boop, boop. And maybe I'll cut to when this is all done. Okay, there we go. The thumb is the last one. And now, if we select one of these and hit F, center on it, you can see that we have, these are straightened out, but we actually want to tweak this a little bit more so it's more natural, basically, to accept the mocap. What we're going to do is use the middle finger as the guide. We're not going to touch the middle finger, but we're going to start with the index metacarpal, move it over 5 degrees, index 01, and then we're going to line the finger back up with the middle finger. So next we'll go to the ring finger, and we're just trying to create that little gap there that you can see. And then we want to realign the finger, the rest of the finger bone with the middle finger. Go to the pinky, scooch it out, rotate back into line. So you can see that that gap kind of disappeared. I'm going to rotate that one more 5 degrees. And always make sure those fingers are all parallel. And then for the thumb, same kind of deal. Just going to rotate it out. And rotate the thumb back in. So there we go. So that is what we want our hand to look like. We want it to be flat with the thumb, you know, alongside. And if you have a character that is giving you weird results, you might need to play with this posing because it will affect how the mocap is received, right? And so this is the base pose that we want. So now I'm going to do essentially the same exact thing for the right arm. I'm going to show you how to do the clavicle. So we select the clavicle, zero it out. And as you can see, because it's the other side, it kind of looks a little bit more funky. What we need to do on this one is rotate this 180 degrees. And now it's, you know, back up and down. But remember, we then rotated an extra 15 degrees to get it up and down more. And then we bring it down 90 degrees to get it in line with the ground, you know, so it's a T pose. Now I'm just going to go through and basically zero all these out, and I will fast forward or skip through this so you don't have to watch it. But it's the same process that we just did with the left arm. Remember, the hand is not going to look right, so we need to rotate that 90 degrees. There we go. And now we do the fingies. So there we go. You know, just did the exact same thing that I showed you on the left hand. And now we just need to get our bones, our finger bones, rotated out a little bit to make it more natural. Again, just creating that little gap. Making sure that the finger bones are in line with the middle finger, which is our, you know, straight out from the hand guide finger kind of. There we go. So there we go. So the last thing that I do, because I find sometimes the shoulders of the metahumans can be a little bit pulled back for whatever reason, I go and I select the clavicles and I just rotate them in 5 degrees. And once we've done that, here is the pose that we want to, you know, for our metahuman to adopt. So after you do this, and you saw me lose my progress before, you don't want to click out or do anything else. You want to immediately go to create asset, create pose asset, current pose. And I'm going to throw this pose asset into the main folder of my content folder. There we go. And now, you know, it created this pose. It's pose 14757, which will become important in a second. We need to know that pose name. And then in my, you know, project, here is the pose asset I just created. So what we need to do now is go back to our body blueprint. We need to drag in that pose asset we created. We need to right click that pose asset, go to convert to pose by name, enter in that pose name, pose 14757. And again, you can always find that, you know, in that pose asset. If you open it up, here's the pose name. And then we wire that into our local to component node. And now, if we hit compile, whoa, there we go. That's our T-pose. So now this body is ready to receive the mocap from Rokoko Studio. However, we are not done because, as I mentioned, we need to go and do something similar for the face. So to do that, I'm going to go to common, metahumans, common, face. You can see here we have all of our you know, facial, the mesh and the facial animation blueprint. We want to select the face AnimBP, not the post-process AnimBP. We want the face one, the main one. And when we open that up, it will open up in the event graph. We want to go to the animation graph, and this looks a little bit different from our body, right? But we're going to kind of do the same thing with a few differences. The first thing we're going to do is in this cache pose here, we're going to break this. We don't want these guys to be connected. Although I guess it doesn't really matter because we're just going to remove this anyway, but I always do that. Next thing we're going to do is, you know, grab our local to component node, wire that in to a Rokoko body pose node, and then wire that into this base pose here. And again, it's going to create that component to local node for you. On the body pose node, change this to Sam again, the name of our actor profile. And we're going to load in that bone list, that Seneca bone list as well. And we're going to hit compile. And then the next thing we're going to do is we need to repose this asset too, even though it doesn't have the fingers. So we don't need to do the fingers or anything, but we need to do the collarbone and the upper arms so that this asset will match what the body is doing, right? We want them to be posed the same way. So if we go to skeleton, it's the same kind of thing. Here we have our massive, confusing looking skeleton. Go all the way to the bottom here and you have clavicle and upper arm for each side. So remember, it's the same thing. Zero it out. Then remember, it wasn't pointed straight up and down, so we need to rotate this over 15 degrees. Then we bring it down 90 degrees. 90 right there. And then for the upper arm, zero it out. And then I'll jump back to the clavicle, and remember, I bring this in 5 degrees. That's what I did with the body as well. Then the right clavicle, zero it out. Looks super funky because we need to rotate it up 180 degrees. Then another 15 degrees. And I do them separately. I don't know, I'm paranoid, so I do them separately. But then we bring this down 90 degrees and rotate it in 5 degrees. Then we're going to grab the upper arm, zero it out, and there we go. We're done. There's no fingers to deal with or whatever. But now the clavicle and the upper arm match the body pose. So same thing. We're going to go to create asset, create pose asset, current pose, and save it in the main content folder. And hopefully I didn't block this, but it was the same thing. I was just selecting the clavicle and the upper arm, right? Hit OK. This pose is called pose_0. So when we go to our back to our face blueprint, we want to grab from the main content folder. Remember, here's that face asset. Drag it into our blueprint. Right click it. Convert to pose by name. Pose equals 0. There we go. And now, if we hit compile, I'll zoom in so you can see what happens. Oh, I didn't wire it in, so wire it in, hit compile. See, and it kind of changed it. So now this is posed the same way as our body. So now we're going to talk about a very important tip. So I got this from JS Films, who I keep watching his content. He's just churning out Metahuman stuff. Keep doing it. You're awesome. And I think he got this from someone else. It's like a big chain of everyone figuring out metahumans together. But what we need to do is basically, when you're using the AR kit to do your facial motion capture, there's this kind of problem where it leaves the lips open a little bit. Like when you're resting, the lips are open, and it messes up the effect of the facial motion capture. So there's a tweak that we can do to fix this. And this is really important to getting good looking facial motion capture out of this workflow. What we're going to do is in the blueprint, we're going to zoom in to this beginning bit. And in between the live link pose and the ARKit mapping pose, we want to add a new node here. We're going to add a modify curve node. So we'll add that, wire it up between them. And now, if we right click on this animation pose here, we go down to add curve pin. And then if you kind of scroll a little bit, it allows you to search. And we're searching for the mouth shrug lower. Boom. You can see that it adds this little pin here. And what we want to do is just enter a value of, I've been using 0.5. And what this is, let's hit compile and you can see what happens. Pay attention to her mouth. Boom. See, it basically what this is doing is it's starting everything with her lower lip up a little bit more. And that's going to correct that kind of open mouth, like base pose that you get using the ARKit facial motion capture. So again, this is a huge part of getting good facial motion capture. Definitely do this and take away, if you take away anything from this video, it's that when you're using the ARKit type facial motion capture, which again Rokoko uses, you need to add this modify curve to the facial blueprint, or else it's going to be this kind of, you know, open mouth, and you're not going to close when you're talking, which is bad. Okay, so that's all of our blueprints. I'm going to, again, compile and save these guys. Go back to the body, compile, save, and I'm going to close this now. And so now we just need to add two more things in order to receive mocap from Rokoko Studio. So actually the first thing is, you can see here that her pose didn't change. Sometimes, even if you compile, I need to restart Unreal to have this take effect. So I'm going to restart this, save everything. Okay, we opened it back up, and I don't know why that happens, but you know, now she's in the T-pose and everything is looking good. So now what we need to do is we need to add a Rokoko receiver, which you can just find if you type in receiver. It's right here. You'll drag it into the scene. I already dragged it in. And we need to make sure this is at Rokoko port number, so it's 14045. So if we go to Rokoko Studio and we go to our live streaming plugins, and you know, of course you'll need access to these plugins for this workflow. If you don't already have access and a subscription, you can sign up for a 30-day free trial, play around with it, and then you could subscribe month to month, you know, based on how you need it, if you need these plugins. But you do need to have access to the Pro or to the Plus plan to access these plugins. So you need to turn on the Unreal Engine live streaming port, and you can see that we're streaming out to 14045, which you can change right here, but that needs to be on, and that will match up with what's in our Rokoko receiver in the project 14045 right here. And then we need to go to Live Link, add a Rokoko Studio source, and you can see that it will pop up these two, you know, it's the body and the face from Rokoko Studio. If these don't pop up, just delete this. You know, make sure you have your Rokoko receiver set to the right port, and then just re-add it. And now, if we hit play, look at this. So now we have, she's basically taking mocap in from Rokoko Studio, and it's on her. It's on the character. So if I go to Rokoko Studio and I hit play, and we go back to Unreal, there we go. So she is, you know, she's ready to go, and she's taking in the mocap, and now we just need to, what I'm going to do now is basically save this project, and I'm never going to touch this project again. When I do a shot, when we start doing the shots and recording the animation to our character, I'm just going to create a copy of this whole project folder in Unreal, or in my Explorer, you know, and I'm going to make a copy of this, and then use that copy to start doing our actual shots. So I'm going to start, you know, going and through and recording the mocap to our character, and yeah, I will have this project in the download, in the description below to download if you want to play around with it, and you will just need to go in and make sure to change the blueprints to, so common, medium, normal, her body blueprint. You're going to need to go in and change, you know, the pose, you know, the on the Rokoko body pose, the actor name is going to be what your actor profile is in Rokoko Studio. So just a few tweaks in the body and face blueprints will allow you to start streaming out your mocap to Unreal. So, okay, I'm gonna start trying to record some and print some out to get into our Premiere project. So it's about 3 o'clock. I'm still just at it. I've rendered out about 3/5, no, about half of the shots, but things are going really good, and they're lining up in Premiere and everything, and so it's looking good. So what I thought I'd go through kind of what I've been doing with that base project that we created, right? So I created that base project, and I just have a copy that's just blank, and in here is the Metahuman that's all set up. You know, it's got the Rokoko, it's all set up to receive mocap and everything. So each time I can just make a copy of this project and then just do a new shot. And I think that's cleaner. You know, I could maybe keep it all in one project, but this is how I've been doing it. So now we're going to do this full lyrics shot. So I created a copy of the project, full lyrics. I'm going to rename it full lyrics still. So this is just me standing still essentially, and just doing the lyrics just so I can get a really good facial mocap take of all the lyrics that I can cut to in the video. So I did that kind of with the face, and then I also did like a take where I just I just did like hand dancing, but they're all just inserts, right, that I'll be able to cut in when you know, the moving around mocap didn't look good, or I just needed some insert shots. So I'm gonna minimize myself right here. Go to my content browser, got the Metahuman. Let's throw her in the project. Really long names, so I guess I shouldn't have such a long name here. But yeah, as you can see, like she's already in the T-pose. She's got the pose asset loaded up. I also loaded up my slums like environment. So it's all in this project. So I just have to open up this project each time, record, and then set up my Metahuman in the scene, do the animation of the camera, and like print out the export, you know, export the shot and then onto the next one. So just added her to the scene. I will go and I will turn on live link. And there we go. So I've got Rokoko Studio open, and I can hit play, and this is, you know, that still take where I'm just kind of standing still. So I'll put this off to the side. But if I hit play, no, I actually need to assign the live link, subject as her. And now, if I hit play, and I hit play in Rokoko Studio, you know, she will be doing, you know, we're streaming over the mocap from Rokoko Studio. So this is just, you know, I tried to be like more expressive in this take because it's hard to keep it all in your head when you're moving around, and you kind of want to act for the mocap, you know. I think that the facial mocap is getting better at just recognizing our natural face, but you still want to maybe, you know, emphasize the expressions that you want to come through and keep your eyes, you know, at the right spot. And it's just a lot to think of. So I did this take basically just so I could get a good facial mocap take. And as you can see, it looks good. Okay, so I'm going to record this whole thing. It's about 90 seconds long, it looks like. I'm going to go to the beginning of my take in Rokoko Studio. Then I'm just going to go to the take recorder. I'm doing this all in 30 frames a second because I just like it more sometimes, especially when there's choppy, you know, movement. There's a lot going on with the Metahuman, so sometimes, you know, you just want more frames to work with, so that's why. So I'm adding her into my take recorder. And now basically if I just hit record and then over in the Rokoko Studio, I hit play, she's just gonna record to my, you know, the mocap is recording to my character right now. And then I will set all of this up in sequencer, and then we can export out just like these clean insert shots. So we'll cut to the, you know, after this is done. And okay, hit stop. So it's 1.5 minutes, this take of kind of the whole first and second verse. You know, after I record, it's got to think for a second. And now it's recorded. So okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm actually going to load up my environment. So I'm going to go to slums, maps. I'm going to save this project. And then I'm just using the demo, you know, map that they provided. I'm not trying to get fancy with this and create my own environment. We're just trying to do this quickly in a day. So here it is. If I type in light, I've just been increasing the light a little bit, and then I've been adding in some lights. Okay, so now we just have like this scene of her talking, and I thought maybe like, where's cool? This could be cool, like right here in this corner, kind of. No, actually, let's do it right here. This looks cool. Okay, so I'm gonna go and grab her blueprint, which is located in her folder here. I'm just gonna throw her in, and then I'm gonna create a new level sequence. I'm gonna call it full lyrics still render. So this is what I'm going to be exporting out. Then I will go to my sequencer. I will add her into the sequencer, and I have to type in BP. There we go, didn't break anything. I'm going to delete these control rigs. And then if I go and I go to plus track animation, here's the animation we just recorded. Throw it on her body. I need to click the animation and then disable post-process blueprint and keyframe that. And that way she'll play, basically. And I'm going to do the same kind of thing with the face. I'm going to go to track, animation, go find the facial animation, click the animation, change the animation mode to asset, use animation asset, and then add in that recording that just pops up, and then I keyframe that. And this is what I've just been finding works the best. There's probably a better way that doesn't involve like keyframing these things, but you know, go. We're just trying to get this out. Open this up a little bit so I'm not so dark. Jeez Louise. Okay, so now what do we need to do? We're going to take her and play, and we're going to rotate her. And then the other thing is you can see she looks like really low res right here, and that's because we need to force the level of detail to be the highest. So if you double click her blueprint, go to LOD sync, change this forced LOD to 0, compile it, save it. Now she's at the highest level of detail. I'm going to change my camera speed down to 1. So this is going to be just like a close-up beauty shot is the idea with this. So I'm going to go get a light, and I've just been using point lights. You know, again, we're going for speed. We're just trying to crank this out. And I think that a little like contrast looks good, like a little directional light, you know, so it's not just from in front of her. So I just move it over so there's a little shadow on her face. And then we're going to backlight her as well. If I just hold down Alt and drag this light. Just add a little bit of, what would this be? I don't know if it's fill, I forget what they're called. But yeah, there we go. That looks a lot better, right? And this light could actually maybe come down a little bit. Type in lights. This is a big project. Yeah, so it's nice. And but I like the I kind of like that sharp highlight on the back. What we also definitely want is we want that reflection in her eye, right? That's that's the thing that makes it sing. Losing my voice from singing all those lyrics over and over again. Okay, so go to our sequencer. She's like looking good. It's ready to add we just need to add a camera now, so I'm gonna add a camera. I'm gonna do this at a high focal length, like 120, because we really just want to make this look cool and cinematic. Hit play, kind of find our baseline here, and bring in the focus. We can brute force this aperture a little bit without actually changing the amount of light it's taking in, which is kind of nice. So I think I kind of want like, well, I want her mouth. So maybe I'll do 2 of these, like one on her eyes and one on her mouth. Oops, and I need to, what is this? 2,500 frames. Ooh, it's longer than that. 3,500. Oh no. Yeah, 3,500, not 1,000. Oop. There it is. Put our out point out here. And then we'll just play. So of course, I'm moving around a lot, but it's fine. We need to increase this aperture even more because it's way too much depth of field. We just want to capture. Yeah, like that's good. Okay, so I'm going to keyframe this in like the middle because I'm going to kind of rotate around the mouth for this whole move. So I'm just going to add a transform keyframe. Then I'm going to jump to the back, kind of where it starts, and right here, and we're going to kind of do one of these. Ooh, that looks so much better in the spot on. Even that. Ooh, yeah, now we're talking. This looks cool. Add a keyframe for the transform, and then yeah, and then we're just gonna need to add keyframes depending on like kind of where we are between those 2 keyframes. So I'll like go through and kind of make sure that we're not too far off. And then like at the end, we're gonna circle around. Oh, this is so much more blown out. I don't like this. Maybe I'll move the light a little bit more. And then I'm going to keyframe the focal distance and then just turn on auto keying so I can, like, as I go through, I can kind of just key it where it needs to be. Like here. I just want to get that. I want to get that mouth in focus. Ooh, see, like she looks up. So let's zoom that bad boy up. Ooh, very naughty. Way out. Ooh, no. So you can see she's I'm moving all over the place. I meant this to be a clean take, but so that looks good, I think. So we can print that, and we're gonna use jump around, so it's gonna be fine. So I'm gonna save, and then to send and restart, baby. So let's see what we got. Got a crash here. Okay, so got everything back, and then what we're gonna do to export this is we're gonna go to Window, Cinematics, Movie Render Queue, and then we are going to add in this level sequence. I'm gonna go to Unsaved Config, turn off the JPEG, and I'm gonna add a PNG because that's what I've been doing. Hit accept, and then I will hit render. And I think this will look pretty good. You know, I think the AR kit and the 52 blend shapes are never going to be hand keyed animation, you know? It's just not. Because you're just limited by having only 52 blend shapes to work with. But in motion and with music and with effects, like, this will look fine. And you get stuff like that, and that's like a really good little moment, right? Which looks good. And so you just use the moments that look the best, and then the rest we're not going to use. So that's all rendered out, and now I'll basically I'm just going to take... well, first of all, I'm going to go, and here's all the render, right? I'm going to create a new folder in here. It's called mouth. Throw all these mouth ones in here. And then I'm going to go through and basically do another pass. This time focused on the eyes, and then do one more after that, just focused on the head. And yeah, so let's go through. Basically, I'll just delete all these keyframes. And then I will go find the eyes. And these look... There we go. That looks good. The eyes are the best freaking part about these guys. So this one, I don't... Oop. Oh, there's still a keyframe. So this one... I don't know how much I'm really going to move around, to be honest. I might just keep it relatively static. Just kind of rotate, because this looks good. And then, you know, I'm just gonna keyframe that focus. Keep it nice and sharp on the eyes because they look so freaking good. So, looks pretty good. Oh man, I'm gonna save it. Hopefully I don't get a crash. Yes, okay, great. And I will hit render again, essentially. And I've already got it saved from my last time I did it. And so we can skip ahead after this, but I'm gonna hit render. Nice. It's all working. Okay, doing the last render. It's about, what time is it? 9:30. So just need to plug this in to the edit and we'll be done. Yeah, so it's about 12 hours. So obviously, you know, the quality on this is not the highest because it was done in one day. But, you know, normally I think you would spend maybe a whole day on each verse or something like that, and you'd really tweak it, and you'd record the mocap, you know, multiple times. You'd learn the song better, you know, but this was just to see what we could do with the Metahumans. And I mean, they are pretty easy to work with, and they're only going to get easier to work with. So this was a good test. Yeah. Throw it back to Computer Sam. Thank you, GoPro Sam. Yeah, so we finished everything up last night, and it's actually the day after now, so we're past the deadline. But I just wanted to jump in and actually show you. I was able to edit pretty much everything last night, but I wanted to show you the Premiere file itself to kind of go through what I did just to make this, you know, idea kind of sing as much as I possibly could. So the first thing that I did is, because we were rendering, you know, out of Unreal and we were going for speed, I didn't really have time to do like super duper, you know, 4K renders, or even, you know, I would normally, if I was rendering out of Unreal, I would like jack up the anti-aliasing and stuff. We didn't do that. So our raw data, it looks good, but it also looks, you know, not amazing. This does look pretty good, I think. But just because it's going to make everything look cooler, and also some of the shots are a little bit less high quality, like especially this one. You can see just a little bit of noise, and I don't know, it just doesn't look super good. Also, the lighting was a little bit okay. You know, I could have spent more time like making the scenes look better, but instead of doing that, because we were going for speed, I'm just slapping a bunch of VHS filters over it and like going for that as the vibe. And the other thing that's going to be nice to do is that's going to cover up any, you know, the VO, the facial mocap that we got, I think is really good, and it's very usable. Like I played a bunch of Cyberpunk. I could imagine this being on the TV in the background or something. You can use the facial mocap for a lot of things. That trick to fix the lip closing, I think, makes this totally viable. I think the quality is fantastic. That being said, you know, sometimes I didn't get the best recording. So whenever there is like maybe a little jank, or it doesn't look quite right, it'll this the fuzz and the VHS filters, they allow me to kind of, I don't know, just throw effects on top of it and cover up some of that jank. Um, the other thing that I did, which I love doing, is I threw a little letterbox, anamorphic uh, black bars on there, which I just downloaded, from Google or whatever, Google Images, and then I threw it on top of the project. I think it makes it look cool. I think it just looks awesome. And then actually, yeah, while we're at it, the other thing the VHS overlay helps with is that although maybe this looks fine, no, but it doesn't really. It looks like, I don't know if you can see it, but there's like noise, and it looks like, especially here, you can see jagged lines all over here. So, but also in this shot, I've zoomed in a bunch, so that makes it even more pronounced. So that's kind of what the VHS filters are helping to fix, all of that. But yeah, where was I? Yeah, so yeah, I like this. The letterbox is cool. And then the other thing that I did, this is kind of straying outside the realm of motion capture and everything, but I tend to use a lot of secondary motion when doing stuff like this, and like when doing edits. I find that like even where's a good shot? I think there's a good example right here. Yeah, right here. So you can see that this shot, and I'm going to turn down the audio here. So you guys shouldn't really be able to hear it. But like, let it go. So I've added in just a simple scale back. So it's just going, it's zoomed in and it's scaling back. And I did that on a lot of the shots, and I just find it gives some more motion, just never hurts, and it makes things look more interesting. Like in a lot of these, I went and did like a little scale back, or I moved it, or I added a little rotation. And you'd be surprised how much that can add, especially with a music-driven edit. Just adding that rotation or slow zooms, that can make or break an edit. Yeah, and so that pretty much wraps this up. Again, I did this whole thing, one person with a Rokoko Smart Suit Pro, our gloves, and our facial motion capture system using the iPhone. Did it all yesterday. Was able to record everything in a few hours. Was able to export all the shots out of Unreal. That took maybe 6 or 7 hours. Maybe 8 hours, and then I spent a few hours on the edit, and I think that it's while it's definitely not perfect, and there's lots of issues in here, like you can see, things that bother me still is she's got clipping through her body, like right there, her arm is going through her body, but you could fix all that, right? You'd spend more time working on that and fixing that sort of stuff. This is really just to show what is possible, in a short amount of time, what you can accomplish using these metahumans and using mocap. If you had to hand animate all of this stuff, you had to go through the, animators are amazing. And if you are an animator and you can go in and animate the facial rig and all the movements, it's going to look probably cooler. It's also going to take you weeks or days or months or whatever it is. It just takes a long time. And so I think that this workflow has tons of potential. And again, you can follow, put your questions in the comments below. We will have links to our other tutorials in the description below too. As I said in the beginning, this is all still evolving as Metahumans, it's only in the alpha, so that it'll all keep changing. And the last thing is that when we will release a retargeting workflow instead of this live streaming workflow, the retargeting workflow is always going to be superior. It's always going to be the best workflow. The problem is right now that retargeting facial blend shapes in Unreal is doable, but it requires a bunch of work on the before you even get to Blender, renaming the blend shapes and stuff. So we're gonna keep tweaking that until we feel it's really ready to share. It's too clunky right now to really be viable. This is a much better option. But again, I think part of that is also just because we're still in the alpha, you know. We're going to be submitting, you know, submit your feedback that you want this to work natively with retargeting in Unreal. And hopefully they'll add it. But man, they've done such an incredible job, and all these metahumans are amazing. And so, yeah, as I said before, put your questions in the comments below. I hope that this was helpful and this was illuminating. You know, I hope my janky helmet mount is helpful. Although our chest mount that we sell on the website is great too if you're not moving around. Yeah, you know, a little peek into my process, and hopefully it was valuable. Stay tuned for lots more Metahuman content. It will be coming. We're going to keep some, you know, obviously Metahumans are going to change character creation and use, I think, although there are other good options like Character Creator 3 and Daz. You know, the fact that this is all going to work natively in Unreal is going to be pretty great. So stay tuned for more content. If you make content with the Metahumans using Rokoko products, tag us, because we would love to see it, and we are going to repost it, and we love seeing all of our community's content. And so, yeah, with that, I'll say goodbye. And, you know, we'll see you on the next one, on the next challenge. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Weekends gaming with my time spent trying to get